to the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of March 21st, 2022. I'm Nicole Erdix, and I'm here with Catherine Haleko.
Hello.
And Terry Morrow.
Hello.
Every week we chat about the things that parents are talking about, complaining about, and obsessing about right now. This week we're complaining about stuff that we've had enough of and obsessing about things our families should not be saying. We also take a couple of breaks for an entertainment discussion and a recommendation roundup. Today we are talking about building better parenting products. So
I'll give a little background on this. I was listening to a podcast called Choiceology, and the theme of the podcast episode was less is more, that sometimes instead of adding to things to improve it, you take things away. And one of the guests created a bike for little kids that removes the pedals and sort of teaches them how to balance instead of the other way around. Like a tricycle and training wheels, they teach you to pedal, but they don't really teach you to balance. And that's arguably the hardest part of riding a bike. So he started making them for his son when he was very little, but wanted to ride a bike like dad. And he looked at the tricycle and noticed how heavy it was for somebody of that age, and how his kid's feet never really made it all the way down to the downmost part of the pedals. And he started taking away things until he made these bikes that are called Strider bikes that have no pedals. They have little stubs you can rest your feet in if you're able to balance. It starts out in a rocker for a baby so that a baby can get used to sitting on a bike. And then that same bike can be taken out and ridden by a toddler. Their feet can touch the ground. So they propel themselves with their feet, but they can also put their feet up. And then it goes to a bigger one and with no pedals. And then you can add pedals to the bigger one. So first off, I would like to have a bike like that. Could they make a Strider bike for a 4'9" elderly lady? Because that looks like fun. And as long as I could put my feet back down on the ground, I could try riding a bike for a little while. But it also got me thinking about parents and kind of hacking things to make them work for their kids. I don't think any of us are capable of re-engineering a tricycle into a useful conveyance in our garages, but I bet we've done some stuff. It kind of made me think of, Nicole, I'm sure you're familiar with this. There's a thing called backward chaining, where instead of teaching a kid to do an activity in order, you teach it kind of backwards, and you do everything up until the first step. For example, to teach a kid to make their bed, you would completely make the bed, and then they would put the pillow on at the end. And then you would completely make the bed, except then they would pull up the covers and put the pillow on. And then you would completely make the bed, except they would tuck in the sheet and pull the cover up and put the pillow on, and so on until they're able to do the whole thing, instead of making them start at the beginning and struggle and not be able to successfully complete it. They can always successfully complete it. And that is something that worked super good with my son. I did that with many, many things so he could have the experience of success by completing the activity. And then we walked it back. So that's something, it's sort of like taking things away. You're taking away all the frustrating steps and leaving just the one your kid can do, and then backing up with that. So have you guys done anything where you feel like you've hacked an activity for your kid, or you've taken away something so that it would be easier for your child, and then maybe added to it as they went along developmentally? Like you put together 3/4 of the puzzle and they put the last piece in or something.
Right.
Yeah. You build 3/4 of the Lego thing and then they add it, or you take away something I used to do is like go through and take away all the pieces that would be too hard, so that what's left is stuff that they could do.
Yeah.
You need 565 piece Lego sets where, let's just take the blocks, play with those for a while.
Right. I mean, I feel like it's something that I know that I've done, but I can't specifically pinpoint. I mean, most recently was when my daughter painted her bedroom.
And the thing you subtracted was your opinion.
Exactly. I'm just going to remove my opinion out of this. And went in and kind of did some of the harder areas, or at least provided a lot of guidance. And then she just had to, roll the roller on the flat, on the wall, right? On the big surface.
Yeah.
So And she felt very successful and claims that she painted her room.
Uh-huh.
And you
I don't get any credit.
know better, but you choose to let her.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Take the credit. And my son, I mean, I feel like with him as well, there were, especially with him learning to play guitar, I think he learned in a way that was a little bit different, because he would actually listen to the entire song and then pick out parts of it, and he got really good at it, and then he would string it together. Right. So he and my husband would sit there and practice different sections of it and then string it together. As opposed to just starting methodically from the very beginning.
Right. That's a good example.
Going through. Yeah. So he got really proficient at playing songs that way. Those are kind of the big things that come to mind right now.
Yeah. It's like having a specific small, easy chore for your kid to do so that they can feel that they're participating.
Right.
Rather than say you have to set the entire table. Well, you can put the napkin down or something. But then, of course, they're 20 years later, they still want to only do that. But still, we're supposed to be adding to this at some point.
My husband, he would cook with our kids pretty often. And it was a lot of that, like he would be doing, the heavy lifting and the sharp knife and the hot pot or whatever, but he would be having them, here you can, scoop this filling into the raviolis or whatever. We have this great video that's like, far longer than anyone needs to ever watch of them making raviolis. But, the way you do it is you take the dough and you have to roll it through the pasta machine. And so that's something that a kid can do, right? Is turn the crank on the pasta machine, while the adult kind of feeds it through.
Right.
And then place the flattened out dough onto this sort of mold thing. And then you scoop little bits of ravioli filling into on top of this piece of dough. And then you put this sort of grid chopper thing on top. Well, then you put another piece of dough and then you put this grid on top, and that actually cuts it into individual raviolis. So like pressing it down is another job that a kid can sort of do. Usually they need help. But yeah, it's a great way to have them be involved.
When they get really good at it, they won't let you do it. Like my son learned, I think in college, he was in a food, what was his major? His major included cooking, and he learned how to cut fruits and vegetables. So now it's like, mom, no, let me do that. You're going to cut yourself. You do it. It's fine with me.
Yeah. So. Same with my daughter doing her own hair for skating.
Yeah.
I used to have to do the bun. But eventually she fired me from that job, which is as it should be. Totally.
Another thing I was thinking of with this is sort of like sometimes you want to reduce your kids' focus. And, speaking of products, I remember when my son was young and he would get a math worksheet, he could not cope with a whole page full of math problems. So he would do the thing of like taking a piece of a manila folder and cutting a square out of it. And then he could put it over so he saw only one math problem.
Right.
And that worked really good. That was really helpful. And there was a lot of things for that, where there was like, for reading, you hold something below it so they can only see one line. And, you do that in other things like limiting activities or so it's like we're taking away stuff so that you can just focus on this. But that's hard to take away things unless you don't like those things, in which case it's delightful. But, even like clutter in a room. I read someplace the other day that, you lose a lot of productive work time by having too much clutter in your room. And I'm like, I would lose a month of productive work time if I try to declutter my room. I need to hire Marie Kondo to come and clear me out.
Yeah, but I think, some people are just more visual, like need to, but I mean, it's, if I don't see it in front of me, then I'll forget that it exists. So like,
that's true.
My husband does this with like ingredients or, food he buys at the store, or, we have to bring, like, we had these molds to make chocolate frogs and I put them away in a very logical place. And then where are those things? I'm like, they're right here in this cupboard. And of course he couldn't find them. I had to, reach in there and find them for him. But he's like, he said, well, they have to be brought, to school. And I said, yeah, but unless you're bringing them now, like they're not going to sit out for 2 weeks until but for him, that's what he would much rather,
I'm sympathetic to that. And I get comfort from my objects, and I like having anything I might need close at hand and visible. However, I also have a stuffed dog, a hat, 6 non-working iPhones, a fan that's been on my desk all winter, 2 non-working speakers, 2 cups of pens I never use. Probably I don't actually need visual contact with those items at all times. I don't know. Maybe it works for me. Maybe I shouldn't complain. But
you seem to be a productive person.
It is ridiculous. Plus like 5 inches of dust. But I don't know. I wish I was the kind of person who could mechanically look at a bike and say, oh, here's what I need to do. And take it apart and put it back together. And the kid is delighted. But 'tis not my way, I guess. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to do that? To be able to hack stuff right and left?
Yeah.
You know what I've always admired is people that can listen to a song and then just play it on the piano. I mean, that is a major hack. That is like the ultimate hack.
It is. I can't do that, but I can remember song lyrics from when I was in high school. All I have to do is hear the song again and bop. Such retention. Is there like a part of the brain that is dedicated to storing music lyrics? There has to be.
Don't they say that, like people with Alzheimer's and other dementia, like they can remember songs.
They can still sing Muskrat Love.
Yeah.
Decades later, but they can't remember the name of their loved ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is cruel.
Well, we're always full of ideas for other people to execute. So
yes, we should make a list for the Strider bike guy. Next, could you please?
Right. Here are some other things that we have in mind.
Those bikes are very cool, though. We'll link to them in the show notes. Go look at them.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to have those when my kids were little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have one now.
Well, we'll wait and see what he does next, because people like that tend to.
I'm sure it wouldn't be embarrassing at all for me to ride that all around and about.
It would be.
I have no pride. I'm old.
Well,
ride what I like. Dang it!
You have seen the adult tricycles, have you not?
But the point that he made about tricycles, which is true, is that they're fairly heavy.
Yeah.
So if you're a smallish person, whether because you're 2 years old or because you're 62 years old and your bones are compacting, not so easy to ride a big, heavy thing, even if you don't have to worry about the balance. Right. So I think he had a point there. Lightness would be good.
Right. Well, we'll see what he does next. But that's it for today's round 1. Tune in tomorrow for our entertainment themed round 2, and later in the week to find out what we are complaining about, obsessing about, and recommending right now. We're always interested in what you have to say, so drop us a comment on our website, our Facebook page, or Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.